Yo, what's good, folkers? Y'all know what it is. Had to leave my head uncovered, some, you know, get some sun on my head. Freaking, I noticed that cause I've been rucking, right, outdoors with the sun out, and I had my little head covering on. I noticed I got a line of paleness. You know what I'm saying? And I wear it to keep the sweat from getting in my eyes, but I ain't sweating right now, so I can go ahead and leave that thing off. What's good, y'all? J Law was good. You in the building? Yeah. So I was talking to you guys earlier about whether or not anarchy works, and as I got to thinking about it, I realized anarchy is working, right? Not just in our daily lives on a micro level, right? In terms of no one's telling us what to eat, when to eat, all that other good shit. Shot Killings was good, man. I saw you in Irene's chat room last night. So, as I was talking about it, I realized that the controllers, the tyrants that rule over us, are anarchists, right? Yeah, I talked about that at the end. But, there's so many examples of this, right? We had the Modelo virus crack, Modelo 19 has been running rampant, right, throughout the country for the last year, right? And, you had these restrictions placed on us to where we can't go outside. We couldn't go outside without a mask on. We had the social distance. Certain businesses were closed down, this, that, and the third. But as the year went on, we came to understand that the people that are pushing these restrictions on us are not following them, right? Not only are they not following them, but when they get caught not following them, they don't go to jail. They don't get a ticket. They don't get locked up, right? They're still doing what they want to do, and they're still ruling over us, right? Governor Newsom, for instance, right? Not only did he push lockdowns on us, right, in California, but he disregarded his own edict to lock down. And he had a party at a restaurant with some of his folkers. Drop my damn shit on him. And hold on. Anyway, so Governor Nuisance, as I like to call him, Governor Nuisance, what happened to him when he got caught not following social distancing guidelines, going to a restaurant with more than 10 people, right? Because there was a limit, or you couldn't have more than 10 people, and you got to wear a mask, and you got to be outside. He was inside with no mask with more than 10 people. He did what the hell he wanted to do and didn't got to get in trouble, right? Now, in doing so, he didn't harm anybody, right? He didn't hurt nobody doing this party. He didn't hurt anybody having more than 12 people. He didn't hurt anybody not wearing a face flag. But what he did do was he caused harm to other people by pushing these restrictions onto others. That's where the karma came in. But outside of that, he was living as an anarchist. He did what the hell he wanted to do regardless of what the rules were. You understand? Perfect example, right? Not only that, see, Newsom, he's like the ultimate, right, in examples. He did so much shit that went against the rules he placed on us, right? He closed down vineyards, locked down vineyards. But he had to close the vineyards down, but his vineyard was able to stay open. His own vineyard, he was able to keep open, right? As a businessman, he was able to keep his own business open, regardless of what the rules were, regardless of whether or not there was a Modelo 19 running rampant. Despite the public health risk of keeping his winery open, his vineyard open, he did it anyway, right? But he pushed those restrictions onto us. He made other people's wineries shut down. Same thing with the schools, right? He locked the schools down. Kids couldn't go to school, which I agree. That's a whole nother story. But I feel like one good thing that came out of this was the schools being shut down. Now, how it was handled from that point, a lot of bad things happened, right? But anyway, but the private school his kids go to was able to stay open. You see what I'm saying? Despite the public health risk, despite the rules, despite what was best for society, he was able to keep his kids in private school. So even though he's pushing these rules and restrictions onto you, he does not have to follow them. His children did not have to follow them. His winery was able to stay open. He was able to go and have this little party. He was able to do this and do that. He did whatever the hell he wanted to do. Even though we could not. You see what I'm saying? He's living and operating as an anarchist. He's not allowing the people that he's ruling over to live that way, but he's doing it himself. You understand what I'm saying? And even though he's doing that, he didn't suddenly become a murderer, right? Well, that's let me take that back. The problem isn't that he's an anarchist. The problem is he's also a tyrant. That's where the problem is. The problem is in his tyranny, right? The problem isn't anarchy. The problem is tyranny. No issues came from him living as an anarchist. The problem came from him living as a tyrant, right? So, who else? All these politicians. Name a politician that can't do what he did. Name a politician, like even, as hell, in some states, they didn't even bother with the lockdowns. They didn't even bother with that, right? They didn't even bother with it. They said, we're not locking down. We're not closing businesses. We're not doing any of that, right? And those are the states where you saw minimal infections, right? You saw the lowest amount of infections in those there states. Now, there were points in time, like small periods of time, where they had a huge spike, right? Where for maybe a couple of days they had the most. But then after that, boom, it tapered off. The point is this. You had, I forgot which mayor this was. There was a mayor in one city or something. He told people not to travel, right? Oh, don't travel, don't visit your family in other states. But what did he do? The first thing he did was got on the first thing smoking to go visit his family in another state. You see, these people tell us what we can and can't do, right? They write laws to determine what we can and can't do, right? But they don't follow those laws and those rules themselves. Did he get in trouble? Did Mayor Lori Lightfoot, did she get in trouble for standing in the crowd, not wearing a mask and blowing into a bullhorn when Biden won the presidency? Surrounded by people, not social distancing. What do they tell you? That masking is not a substitute for social distancing. They had all these social distancing guideline rules in Chicago. But her ass, when it suited her, broke those rules. And the worst thing that happened was that she had to come up with an excuse as to why she didn't follow her own rules. Was she locked up? No. Did she get a fine? No. Did anything happen to her aside from a little slap on the wrist from the media? No. Why? Because she's an anarchist, right? Once you reach a certain level in this echelon, once you reach a certain level in the elite class, you are an anarchist. It's plain as day. It's as plain as day. Let me read some of your comments. I didn't get to do it earlier. Yeah, I'm in California, shot killings. J-Law's in the house. I wouldn't say I'm religious, but Jesus Christ did warn us about these evil hypocrites. We must learn from our past or else we are doomed. Calling all these cowards out. Let's go. Yeah. Because here's the thing. There will always be people with bad intentions in their hearts, right? That will always want to have power over you. There will always be those people. The key is to recognize the signs of who these people are. And let's say we break everything down and, you know, we try to live in a society where there's pure anarchy, right? Pure anarchy. You have to recognize the signs of would-be tyrants, and you have to keep those in check, right? That's how you get that to work. Once you recognize the signs that people are giving off, because they'll always give off red flags. You just have to recognize what those signs are and put it in check. You have to shut it down immediately. Why? Because it goes against the best interest of the people. The best interest of the people is for people to live as freely as they can, as long as they're not harming other people. And this is very achievable. This is achievable. The problem with the pure anarchists in society today is that they are causing harm to other people by creating laws, and they would even, it wouldn't be possible without their enforcers, right? Without their henchmen going out, hitting the streets and making sure you're following their rules. But who polices the police? Who polices the politicians? Who polices the lawmakers? Nobody, right? I mean, you had to be caught up in some big scandal. You got to get caught in a huge scandal in order to truly serve punishment for what you did, right? And you have to be caught and it has to be put out on blast in public. What, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, it's swept under the rug. Let me see what they're talking about. I can spot red flags easily. You just have to recognize what the signs are. You have to understand what these people are like. You know, they're the ones who, they're the ones who bark out orders. They're the ones that push people around. They're the ones that try to intimidate people and try to puff their chest out and try to, assert their physical force on you. As soon as you see it, you shut it down. You know what I'm saying? And this is the thing. You have to, let's say we live in a community where it's anarchy, right? Where everybody, and we live cooperatively with each other, and we help each other, and we all contribute to the society. And yes, there's going to be leadership, but leaders are chosen, right? Leaders are chosen. Leaders do not force themselves onto you. That's the definition of a true leader. The definition of a true leader is someone who can lead by example, who are organically chosen by the people. There does not need to be a vote. You don't need to vote for a true leader, right? They have compassion. They seek wisdom from others, right? And they know how to make things happen, right? They know how to make things fall into place so that things go smoothly. And it's not always going to go smoothly. Leaders make mistakes and they acknowledge those mistakes and they learn from them. But you can spot a boss right off, right? Bosses and dictators and tyrants and rulers, they demand that you follow them. They demand, what word am I looking for? They demand obedience, right? They demand it, because there's something about them they feel like is superior to everyone else. And so they feel like they have to be in charge, right? So they demand that they are in charge. Whereas a leader, the leader is commanded. They command it in the way they operate. They don't have to bark it out loud. They don't have to push themselves onto other people, right? People can see how intelligent, how strategic, how tactful, how compassionate, how intelligent these leaders are. And so they just follow them. They come to them for advice. They come to them for guidance. They ask them What should we do about this? I've seen you do this a lot, right? I've seen you climb that mountain without effort. How do you do it? Can I go with you next time? Can you show me how to get in shape enough to do it? You know what I'm saying? What is the best way? What's the best way to grab this rock? And you know what I'm saying? They're sought out. Leaders are sought out. Leaders don't have to come find you to tell you what to do. That's just a simple fact. And these leaders aren't weak, right? They know what's best. They know what's best to protect their people, and they're not just going to lay down and let people attack them and all this other shit. No, they know how to get people riled up, get people encouraged, and put that fire in people's heart to fight. You know what I'm saying? That's what leadership is. Leadership, what we're witnessing now, is not leadership, right? So, that's just facts. That's just facts. The bankers, the elite class, they're all living in anarchy. They don't have to follow the rules that they put forth toward us, and they get away with it. That's how they're living. Shad Killing says, I have the Anarchist Cookbook. No, I have not read that. I'm not familiar with the Anarchist Cookbook. Is that a real thing? They get away with it. Because there's no one there. Like, the people won't do it. We, the people, will not put these people in their proper place. Oh, hey, Deuce, what's good? We, the people, are guilty of allowing these people to do what they want and then force us to do what they want us to do. We're guilty of that. Most of us are sheep. Yeah, you can, Shakila said, yeah, you can download the book to your phone. Oh, that's what's up. Oh, you read it too, oh, hey, Deuce? Oh, shit, I gotta look into that. It'll charge me a little. It is what it is, If it's quality, I don't mind paying for quality. But yeah, these people are anarchists. These people are straight up anarchists. They just happen to be evil, tyrannical anarchists. And if they had any inkling of humanity, they would say, you know what? We should allow everybody else to live as we do. Right? But they're too greedy. They're too hungry for power. They're too hungry for resources. They want everything to themselves. They want to control everything. It's that addiction, right? Control and power is an addiction. But yeah, the elites are anarchists for sure. As Carl Trombley says exactly right. We cause this do not put them in a fire. Yeah, we don't hold them to any standard. You know what? They hold us to a standard, and we hold each other to the standard that they set forth for us. And it's kind of retarded. Anarchy TV was good. I mean, what's interesting? What's really sad, man, is a lot of these people, a lot of these elite anarchists, right, are child predators. A lot of these elite anarchists are child predators, and they have so many evil desires in their heart that they want to stay hidden. You know what I mean? It's crazy. J-Law, amen. We call it how it is. Thanks for keeping it 100, my brother in truth. No problem, J-Law. So, what's interesting? I was watching, uh, Anthony Brian Logan did a video, right? Police are definitely predators. Okay. I was watching, I think it's his latest video, Anthony Brian Logan's latest video, where he's talking about this professor at Columbia University. I forgot his name. His last name is Hart. Damn it. Shit. I need to start making notes. Anyway, you guys familiar with that professor that works at Columbia University in New York? He openly admits to sniffing heroin. Okay, he openly admits to sniffing heroin, and he's a professor of not psychology, like he's like psychology and neuroscience or whatever. Like he's a professor of the brain, right? That's what he teaches, and he's the head of that particular department. Isn't that crazy? But he sniffs heroin. He does heroin. But anyway, Anthony Brian Logan does a video on this dude, right? And right off the bat, he launched the ad hominems, right? Calls him a dope fiend, this, that, and the third, and all this shit. And look, this is what people are so desperate to prove a point that's not a good point, that they'll point things out that are irrelevant. Like, he pointed out that this professor had long fingernails. Okay, so he's a dope fiend with long fingernails. So there goes the false association, right? Because he got to snort the heroin, so he has long fingernails. Like, what relevance does that have? Like, you're reaching. That's how you know you're reaching, when you have to point out the guy has long fingernails, and you calling him a dope fiend. But apparently this professor has written a book on it, written a book on doing drugs. He studied it. You know what I'm saying? He studies how drugs affects people and all this other shit. And I'm waiting, right? And I need to look more into this myself. But I'm waiting for him to demonstrate why this professor doing heroin is a bad thing, right? Now let me point something out. All he does is repeat. He's a dope fiend, he's a social justice warrior. So of course, there's another false association, right? He's a social justice warrior who's on heroin. It makes sense. That's in his mind. In his mind, social justice warriors are drug addicts. That's essentially what he's implying, right? But I'm like, and yes, the professor, he did say something about having withdrawals, right? That's part of doing drugs. If you're on an addictive substance and you stop, there's a likelihood that you're going to have withdrawals. That's with cigarettes, with alcohol. Alcohol and cigarettes are legal, by the way. Not so much with marijuana. I haven't seen anybody have withdrawals from not having marijuana, right? But anyway, I'm waiting for him to say something like, this professor was talking about how he stole his mama's TV and sold it for heroin, or he overdosed one time, and I'm waiting for him, he sold his child into slavery for heroin. I'm waiting for that. It doesn't come about, right? He could not demonstrate how this professor doing heroin was wrong, right? And then he got into marijuana and how marijuana is a gateway drug, and I'm like, that's a false, that's false. That's a false connection. They call it a gateway drug because marijuana is probably the least, it causes the least harm of most of the drugs. So you're saying it's a gateway drug because, you're using a mind-altering substance, so why not go further than that? But I know plenty of people that have only done marijuana for 20 or 30 years. I know people who have smoked marijuana for 20 or 30 years and never, ever did another drug. Now, I do want to know one person that does mushrooms, right? But I've seen her do the mushrooms, and when she did the mushrooms, it's not like she was crawling on the ceiling like Lionel, you know what I'm saying? She was chilling. It's a mushroom, okay? It's a psychedelic mushroom. She did a psychedelic mushroom. It barely had an effect on her, but she's highly functioning. She works for the school department. She works Yeah, she works for school. She works at a school, you know, and she's a highly functioning marijuana user, a highly functioning mushroom user who just used mushrooms when she had got time at the house. So this is a cat that believes that all drugs should be illegal. And he could not demonstrate to me, in my mind, why this professor, what is this professor doing wrong? He's during on his own time, he's using heroin. He's not forcing anybody else to use heroin. He's doing it to himself, right? He's not causing any harm to anybody else. No one has complained about this professor to the school. No one said, "Oh, this heroin addict is, you know, fiending over there and twitching. He's rambling and he's you know, all this other shit." No, he seems to be a highly functioning heroin user. Now, me myself, I don't do drugs. That's just a conscious choice for me. I don't want a mind-altering substance in my body. That's just my choice. But that doesn't mean that I have to force that belief onto someone else. That just means that that's not what I want to do. But you have people like ABL who believe that because he thinks drugs are disgusting, that he thinks drugs causes problems, and it has caused problems for a lot of people. Let's get that straight. I'm not saying that drugs hasn't caused harm to people, but the real harm comes from when you criminalize people who do drugs or criminalize people who sell the drugs, right? Because all you're doing is creating a criminal organization, right? That's what you're doing. When you outlaw drugs, when they started the prohibition for alcohol, what they did was create a criminal underworld. All they did was bolster the black market, right? That's all you're doing. When you criminalize anything, you're bolstering a black market. That's all you're doing. And you're making it more dangerous. You're making it more dangerous by creating these criminals. By making criminals of drug dealers, you're creating violent people, right? You're not creating violent people. They already had these violent tendencies. But what you're doing is you're bringing out the worst in people. You're bringing out the people who would go to any lengths to sell the drugs and escape scrutiny from the police. So they'll do things like kill people. They'll, it's just bad, right? You create criminal underworlds. You create criminal organizations when you criminalize a substance, right? Meanwhile, you have another organization sanctioned by the government that are dealing drugs all day and all night, 24/7, and they're making billions from it, and they don't get any scrutiny from the police. They're not criminalized at all. And I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry, and that can sell the drugs, right? And it's sanctioned, and the doctors are pushing it. The doctors are investing in it. People are making millions of dollars legally selling drugs, but they don't want the competition, right, outside of their little organization, their criminal organization, right? So what they do is they force the underground or the underworld to become criminals, and it just creates a whole lot of danger, right? Criminalizing drugs creates more danger than letting it be what it is, right? I've went over this hundreds of times, why that is, because you just create an atmosphere of paranoia, right? There's so much paranoia. You create an atmosphere of corruption, right? Because there's going to be corruption within the police organizations, right? They want to, with bribes, they'll participate in a criminal activity and hurt people and help witnesses get murdered and all kind of shit. They're collecting money from drug dealers to keep their mouth quiet. That's what it creates. Exactly. Anarchy TV says if all drugs should be legal, that should count for pharmaceutical drugs also. You mean illegal? Anarchy TV? Because pharmaceutical drugs are already legal. Old Head Dude says, I've done probably everything but heroin and peyote in the 2000s. That's crazy. Don't steal because the government doesn't like competition. That's facts. Don't sell drugs because the government doesn't like competition. Word up. Best believe Myanmar is a drug alley. Yep. I mean, it is what it is. He probably talking about legal as in without subscription. Oh, yeah, probably. So, what else do you do when you criminalize drugs? When it comes to drugs like heroin and cocaine, they have to step on the drugs. They have to cut the drugs with chemicals to make it spread further, right? Because they can only get so much at a time, and it's expensive. If you make it more expensive, when you do it, so it's more expensive, and they have to make it stretch to make their money. So they'll cut it with chemicals and create a problem, right? Now you got tainted drugs that you're giving to people that's really fucking people up. Whereas if you let the free market be the free market, if you let people buy whatever the hell they want through mutual transactions, there would be no need for that type of cutting. You wouldn't have to cut the drugs like that. People would get purer drugs that wouldn't be less harmful to the body. That's just a fact. So this professor who's sniffing coke, heroin, he's probably getting pure shit, and he seems to be functioning. I don't see a problem with him. You know what I'm saying? The problem, I guess the biggest problem most people will see is that he's openly talking about it, and he's a professor. And so, you know, why would I go to that? I'm not going to go to a professor that's going to teach me who's on drugs. You know, that's your choice. But obviously, people are learning from him. You know what I'm saying? Just because you don't want to, all these other people are learning from him. And how is he the head of a department if the drugs are so bad? If the drugs he's taking is so bad, why is he the head of a department? Let him tell it. Let ABL tell it. It's because he's black and he's a social justice warrior. How many drugs would end when better drugs are legalized? Coke would end crack, no doubt. Because you have better access to the cocaine, and the cocaine is pure. You know, it won't be as harmful to the body. It won't be as addictive. You know what I'm saying? It just makes perfect sense to me. It makes sense. It makes sense to legalize drugs. It just does. You know, now they did it. They did it in Oregon. We'll see how that plays out. You know, we'll see how that plays out. But the problem with that is they have to get their drugs from somewhere, right? The people in Orlando. And because it's illegal everywhere else, they're still probably going to get shitty drugs, you know, because they have to go through, you know, illegal means, right? Even though it's legal to do it in Oregon, they still have to purchase it, and they're going to get crappy drugs 9 times out of 10. So, I mean, we'll see how that works. Anarchy TV says, I think that on the subject of marijuana, it should be normalized, not legalized. Normalization is like growing in your yard, partially. Legalization, yeah, leaves it, yeah. Not legalized. Decriminalized, normalized, yes. Every drug should be normalized. It just should be, because you're not going to stop these laws against drugs. They don't stop it. It doesn't stop the drugs. People are still going to do drugs. The drug dealers are still going to provide. It doesn't stop anything, right? It might stop somebody who was considering doing drugs not to do drugs, but people who want to do drugs, they're going to do it, whether there's a law against it or not. It doesn't stop people who really want to do that thing. Hell, murder, laws against murder do not stop murderers, right? It might stop someone who's considering murdering somebody, but they're not truly, their heart's not in it. If they're convinced that they'll get caught and get in trouble. People who murder, they don't care about that, right? People who buy guns on the street, they don't care about a gun law. If they really want it, they'll get it. They will find a way. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. Old head dude says Modelo 19 did nothing to the dope game. I saw no street changes. Hell no. Hell, you see, the streetwalkers are still out there with the little mask on. You know what I'm saying? Anarchy TV. So many kids died from sniffing Freon out of the air conditioners and huffing paint because they can't get other types of drugs. There you go. There you go. That's just real. That's real life. That's real shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you can get paint. You can get that shit from Home Depot. There's ready access to all kind of harmful chemicals. You can get harmful chemicals. A kid can go in the store and buy a harmful chemical. You know what I'm saying? Without anybody thinking twice about it. Crazy, right? What would be more dangerous if you ingested cocaine or if you ingested bleach? What would be more dangerous? Would it be more dangerous to drink liquid Drano, or would it be more dangerous to eat a psychedelic mushroom? What is more dangerous? If they really cared about people's health and well-being, then that ass backwards shit wouldn't even be in existence. Is that okay? About to be deleted by YouTube any day now. Is that Jay with open eyes? You change the name again? So I don't know. That's just my thoughts and my rambling on how there are examples of anarchy in the world right now, and the anarchists are your world leaders, your dictators, your tyrants, your kings, your queens. You know what I'm saying? That don't have to operate under the same rules as you because they have reached this elite level in their mind, and they have the manpower and the firepower to enforce it. The anarchy exists today. So I just wanted to leave y'all with that. Okay. Yeah, one more strike. Yeah, just gotta be careful, man. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Old head dude says the word anarchist scares people. Yeah, real shit. You got quite a stereotype to deal with. No shit. Pain and pressure. Pain was that dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was on point in that last Batman movie, the real Batman trilogy, right? The last one before the Zack Snyder shit, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get at y'all tomorrow. Okay, Snap Power is funneling down to where a small group is in everybody's business. Exactly. Not only are they in everybody's business, but they want to control your business, they want to control your family, they want to control your life, they want to control your immune system, they want to control your brain waves, they want to control what you see, what you hear, what you smell. It's wild. If everyone has someone to answer to, who was the tippy top? Good question. Batman ain't my favorite hero. LOL, Bane whooped on your favorite hero. Yes, he did. Anyway, I'm gonna holler at y'all tomorrow. We'll see what we get into tomorrow. You know I'm doing Ruckin' Live tomorrow. And yeah, we'll have more to discuss. All right. Peace out, guys.